There's a parallel universe where Metabots is the biggest IP in the world, and I like to think about that as a good universe. Hey there, kids, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Uncle Frank. I'm that you are having a great day, and in today's video, we are going to be sitting back, relaxing, and talking about the future and the patience necessary to swan dive into the future. You see, let's take a hypothetical scenario. Let's say that you are financially minded. Let's say that you bought, today we were talking about Haruhi Suzumiya. This is just an example. Let's say that you bought some boxes of this particular Weiss Schwarz product for, I have no idea, 20 bucks, maybe? And fast forward through the largest TCG bull market FOMO rush in the history of TCGs in general, really. And now, just a few short years after you initially purchased it, that $20 box is now $80 or $90. And you're thinking to yourself, damn, I got to sell that. I got to lock that price in. I got to get my gains. And I don't want to wait too long, because what if the market turns and the price crashes and everything goes down and I lose all that potential gains? Well, here's the thing. There's actually very little to worry about when it comes to market shifting, especially on older products, okay? When a bull market switches over to a bear market, yes, there is a downturn in price. Yes, there is a cooling off of sales and purchases. You know, there is a general downward trend in the market, but that does not mean that all prices will retract to where they were before the bull market started. Okay? It's very important to understand that when markets are looking hot and people are positive about an item, a lot of people will buy up sealed boxes of whatever it is, Pokemon, Magic, Weiss Schwarz, etc. And not all of the boxes being bought up are staying sealed. They're not staying boxes. A lot of the people who buy these products during the hype, during the FOMO, during the slow crawl upwards, not all of them are buying these boxes specifically to resell them down the road. Instead, a lot of people buying these, not most of them, but a lot of them, they're buying them and cracking them open just to get the thrill of the hunt, to look for whatever crazy singles they can pull out of these packs. So, inevitably, especially with older sets that are out of print, as the bull market climbs upwards, a lot of sealed product is being removed from circulation entirely. What does that mean? It means that when markets shift, when the tides turn and things go bearish and people are less positive, yeah, there will be some price retractions, some price corrections. People will be willing to take a loss on their items, but their items don't go back to pre-bull market numbers, and they don't go back to pre-bull market prices unless there's a general market crash, which is a different thing, a different hypothetical we should talk about on a different day, because that is definitely worth talking about. I think a hypothetical total TCG crash would be terrifying and exciting, but that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're just here to talk about the average bull and bear cycles of the TCG world. Now, when you're someone who's thinking that the current bull rush will end and that you want to lock in your profits from your $20 box going up to $80, when you're thinking about that, something that you're not really considering, I think, is, do you need the money? And by that I mean, do you have a bill you need to pay with those boxes you bought? Do you maybe need cash flow for your business? Is there a new car you need? A medical bill you got to pay for? A mortgage payment maybe on your house? Those are things to consider, and if you don't really need the money, then why worry? Because it's not as if the item that you purchased is going to go back down to pre-hype levels. Obviously, this is just talking about the sealed product. The sealed product market and the singles product market are two completely different markets. If you have all of your cash parked in singles, then yeah, there is a chance that those do go down. Certain card games do this less often than other card games, looking at Yu-Gi-Oh! But in general, sealed is a safer financial vehicle than singles, but that will also be a different video. We can talk about that. In general, though, speaking loosely, if you're comfortable with sitting on a, what's this called? Oh, it's just Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya. I thought this was a special kind of box. Oh well. If you're comfortable with sitting on a Haruhi box for 2 or 3 years, while it climbs up in price and quadruples in price from $20 to $80, and you don't need that extra $60 in your pocket right now, then you're probably comfortable sitting on that box throughout the next bear market cycle into the next bull market cycle. If you can afford to sit on it for 2 or 3 years, then you could probably afford to sit on it for a few more years just to see where it goes. There's very little chance that it goes down. There's a lot of potential for it to continue going up, even as the bear market rears its ugly head and scares a lot of people out from buying items. And that's something to consider. A lot of people don't really seem to understand that just because we've entered a bear market, that doesn't mean that prices are going to go back down to where they were before. And when we come back out on the other side, if you have the patience to sit through it so far, and you have the patience to keep going, and you don't need that capital, you don't need that money, you're probably going to be better off just waiting just a bit longer. And I understand, there are people who just want to get their money's worth out of items now. They want to secure cash flows and all that jazz. But for the most part, if you're asking yourself, hey, is now a good time to sell while we are currently in a huge market upswing? Yeah, now's not a bad time to sell. Especially if you have made a huge percentage. And again, this could be about anything. Let's say you bought a Pokemon box 3 years ago for $80 or whatever. Chances are that box is not $80. And chances are if you sold it right now, you will have made a pretty nice profit. But unless you really need that money, is there any downside to just sitting on it for a bit longer? And if you have the patience to do so, what are the downsides? What are the upsides? You'll find that if you do the evaluation of risk versus reward, having just a few more years of patience is a pretty low risk. Sure, your entire house could burn down and you lose all your sealed products and everything goes completely south for you. But beyond extreme edge cases like that, and those are extreme edge cases, there's not much of a rush to force you to lock in your profits if you don't have a direct need for that money. If you have your financials in order, which you should before pumping any money into trading cards, I'd like to think that everyone who buys and just plays card games will do it after they've already made sure that all their finances are in order, but you'd be surprised. But yeah, if you don't need the money and you've already been patient enough to just ignore that box or that case or that pile of decks for 2 or 3 years now, chances are you can go another 2 or 3 years until you do need the money. Because here's the thing, life has a habit of catching people off guard, and you'd be surprised how often you'll find yourself needing something that you wasted without thinking too hard about it. Sure, you don't need the money now, but maybe in 2 years you might need the cash for something, and by then the box that you sold for $80 could be $120 or $160 or whatever have you, whatever arbitrary number it hits in the future. It's just something to think about. You know, why sell now when potentially it could be worth more later? And why fret about the money now if you might potentially need it later anyway? What I'm trying to say is don't be too hasty to lock in gains and perceived profits if there's not really much of a need to. If you can afford to have a bit of patience in this ecosystem of trading cards, then you can probably outperform a lot of, let's just call them the scalpers, because that's what a lot of people like to say. A lot of the people, you know, those people who go to Walmart or Target or whatever have you at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they waste their entire day sitting in line for 2 hours just to get a hold of a few ETBs to flip for a profit on TCG Player or eBay. You know, if you just have the patience to sit on products for a few years and then a few more years because you don't need the money right now, you will almost certainly outperform those people, because all it takes for them to go belly up is one bad transaction where they lose money on a few ETBs, or they're unable to sell the blister packs that they bought for double MSRP. You know, it just takes a few bad transactions for them to go from king of the world to shit, I owe $2,000 in credit. Whereas you, who've been able to ride the storm out through its ups and downs, and now you have a pretty nest egg for whenever you need it, you'll do just fine. You have nothing to worry about. If something comes your way, or if there's a bad week of sales and you need some cash, you got something to fall back on when you really need it the most. Anywho, that's all I got for you kids today. I just wanted to ramble on and on because I'm your crazy uncle, and that's what I do. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe. I'd appreciate it so much if you left a comment. Do you think this video was wise, or do you think I'm wacky? I'm curious to know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.